now let's focus in on eukaryotic cells. So the eukaryotic cells that you need to know about are the plant and animal cells that I have back here.
Hello. So we are in the clean room part of my lab, and I wanted to show you in here with slow-mo, obviously, because this is where we work on the samples that we collected during the cruise that your teacher Ale went on with me. And the reason that we work in this lab in particular is because those samples don't have a lot of cells. We call that a low biomass environment. And so we want to work in an area that's as clean as possible. So you can't necessarily see it, but all of the air coming into this room is filtered, and there's a fancy filter on the floor that really cleans the air, so there's very, very few particles floating around in here. And then on top of that, we work with the samples in this hood over here that basically, you open it up, oops, like that, and we do all the work inside of that. And this big thing right here is a huge filter that cleans the air. And so inside of that, there's no particles floating around. So if we see cells, and we measure activity from cells in our environment, we know that those are cells from the samples and they're not some sort of background cells floating around in the air. And so this is called, I call it a clean room, basically. And one of the other ways that we keep this clean is there's a lot more air coming in here than the next room over, so it pushes anything that's floating around in the room out into the next room. So, and this is where we do all of our work. Usually I wear a mask. We do all of our work with low biomass environments, and especially slow. He helps out.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down all of the organelles that are in eukaryotic cells. Now, there are some organelles that are only found in plant cells, but you have to know all of those as well. So let's break down all the organelles that are found in eukaryotic cells. To start off with, we have the nucleus. The nucleus is the boss of the cell. It's the control center of the cell. It's the one that controls all the activities that are going on in the cell. And because these are eukaryotic cells, that's where the DNA is going to be at, right? Eukaryotic cells do have a nucleus, so the DNA is in there. The cytoplasm of the cell is the jelly-like fluid that's in between all of the organelles. Like, let's pretend that we're gonna make a huge model of a cell using a swimming pool. And I tell you guys, okay, you're gonna be this organelle and you're gonna be that organelle. Everybody get into the water. The water in between us, that would be the cell's cytoplasm. It's where all the organelles are located, and it's jelly-like. So imagine that swimming pool is full of jello. The mitochondria of the cell, the mighty mitochondria, which is actually what's on my dress, that is the powerhouse of the cell. It is responsible for making energy for the cell. Now, we also have chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are only going to be found in plant cells. The chloroplasts will take energy from the sun and do photosynthesis. So that means they're taking light energy and turning it into chemical energy. Remember when we talked about energy types? So that's the responsibility of the chloroplasts. The vacuole of the cell is storage. So it stores food, waste, and water for the cell. Plant cells are going to have really large vacuoles because they need a lot of storage. Think about it. If there's a drought or something like that, and a plant hasn't gotten water in a long time, it cannot just get up and go to a new water source. So it has a lot of storage to store water for, any time that it might need it in the future. Animal cells will also have vacuoles, but they are not going to have as large vacuoles as plant cells do. So let's talk about what surrounds a cell. A cell is going to have first a cell membrane. The cell membrane acts like a gatekeeper, and so it's going to decide what can and cannot go in and out of the cell. Now, plant cells and bacteria cells are going to have an extra layer outside the cell membrane, and that's going to offer extra protection and support. So think about it, right? Bacteria and plants don't have a skeleton, so it's also going to offer them a lot of support and give them their shape. So those are all of the organelles that you have to learn in 7th grade. Thanks for watching.